Just
back to Donald Trump now.
The vice president,
or not
the
Donald Trump,
of Defense,
but Vance and Hexit laugh in D.C. protesters' face. Based.
And Stephen Miller showed up at Union Station, that they weren't necessarily warmly embraced.
Well, you showed me video of the National Guard playing with some kids in one community. We know that the vice president and Pete Hegseth were there at Union Station buying Shake Shack, buying food for the National Guard. They've arrested 550 people, made D.C. safe again.
One of the points that the vice president made was the demographics yesterday. And he was talking about how, I don't know if a lot of people know, but the nickname for Washington, D.C. was once Chocolate City because of the large amount of black residents that were there. And the vice president made the point, why do you have these white liberals out there condemning this when the black residents are praising this because they want to feel...
Yeah, black people love being under military occupation, famously. Dude, everyone's a liberal at the end of the day. Remember, look at this. How is this any different than Joe Biden being like, well, black people don't want me to drop out, so you're racist if you want me to drop out? Just make some shit up. Black people actually like this decision. And it's white liberals who don't like this decision. Actually, black people that love this decision of a permanent military occupation on their streets.
Future too. A small percentage of the population shouldn't be able to determine if people are able to.
Meanwhile, the admin is literally posting photos of people that they're just like grabbing from the street and arresting without any conviction whatsoever, by the way. Just simply on charges, and they're just posterizing them. Incredible stuff, man. Most of the people that they're posting are black, by the way.
Live safely in their community. So you have the president going after the drugs, going after the theft, going after the murders in their community. So kids and...
It's just crazy because they haven't done that at all. It's weird because they keep posting anytime they arrest someone, and it's always like possession of a weapon or just like a marginal amount of fucking marijuana or some shit. So I don't know what the fuck these guys are talking about.
Families can live safely again.
I don't understand why anyone would be against this. More policing, more people being arrested that are criminals. I would love for this to happen in New York City. I hope our city's next.
90% of the people in that city voted for Democrats, and that's what Vice President and the Secretary of Defense walked into yesterday. Listen.
America is dying. We can't sit around anymore. Get the out of my city!
This is the guy who thinks people don't deserve law and order in their own community.
Mr. Vice President, how did it go?
Guys, thank you.
Look at them, like maniacs.
No, they're maniacs. No, they actually love him, dude. They love him. They're saying, boo, show us your face more, actually.
What does he mean, free DC?
Does
are you looking at the crime stats there? And that's with the fudge numbers. So does that seem like a free? Look at this,
That guy's screaming.
Right, and they're getting rid of the homeless encampments. They're putting them into facilities. They're cleaning up the...
Yeah, Fox is not showing the crowd calling J.D. Vance a couch fucker, it seems.
Oh, look. It's couch fucker. You gonna fuck a couch, buddy?
Right here. Do not go past this.
This vice president gave
Couch fucker, pussy boy.
Go fuck a couch, J.D. Vance. Go fuck a couch.
God damn.
City, so it's not an embarrassment when world leaders come. So here's Vice President Vance.
If you just take control of these cities, you can make them safe places to live in.
So your pal Gavin Newsom calls this an abuse of power, that this is just a power grab, and this is all stunt for show, and that you all are going to roll through other cities. You've heard things about, oh, martial law is going to be declared.
Yep,
into that, you say?
Well, first of all, how is it a power grab or how is it a stunt when we've already declined murders by 35% in 9 days? How many people are living and breathing today because Donald Trump had the willpower to say, you know what, we're sick of D.C. being a home to lawlessness. We're going to bring some public order back to the nation's capital. So
what do I say? What do I say to this? Every fucking part of this is just up and down, is all lies, man. Like, DC is not one of the least safe places in America. That's fucking bullshit. Its actual rate of violent crime has gone down, lowest in 30 years, and it's slated to even go down more. Their spin on it is so fucking idiotic. Even the fact that they're saying, like, people are terrified to go out and have dinner in DC restaurants is, again, bullshit. It's like when chatters would come to me living in West Hollywood and act as though it was fucking bedlam in my backyard. Or like when chatters would come in here from all around the country and go, dude, LA is on fire. It's like, bro, I'm in the middle of it. What are you talking about? You're over here telling me what I am experiencing in real life is actually fake. And you know better from Idaho because you saw a fucking clip. It's so stupid. It's so fucking stupid. We are at the mercy of psychos who are just hallucinating an alternative reality. And there's no interest, no investment whatsoever from any fucking media outlet to be like, this is just not true. They live in D.C. Half of these people live in D.C. They know it's not true. Donald Trump straight up tells them to their face in the D.C. press pool when they're at the White House, all of you are so scared of going out to dinner because there's people around, dangerous criminals around. Not a single person goes, what the fuck are you talking about? It's not true. And not only is it not true, but also the increased police and military presence has actually caused a dip in people going out to dinner. Because people seemingly don't want to go out when there's fucking military occupation taking place. Yeah, Sean Hannity be fucking, though. We know that. He leaked that shit. Sean Hannity, you can fuck hard. Now, especially when there's no one else at the restaurant. It'll just be you and your Fox News girlfriend. Pipe away, Sean. I did this for you, Sean. Fucking whip your dick out in the middle of the restaurant. Leaking his side piece.
What I would say to Gavin Newsom or to anybody else in some of these...
Before you guys say, it's because Donald Trump called into the Fox and Friends or the morning show and was like, Sean Hannity and the beautiful one sitting in the middle over there can now go and have a dinner in peace without being harassed by criminals. That's what he said. He just like leaked it. And then he was like, I hope I'm not breaking news here. People know this, right? People know it. You guys have been dating. You're so beautiful. A beautiful couple.
Big blue states or big blue cities is you can have law and order. You can have common decency. You can have public spaces that young families can go to again.
I just would love recruiting, a massive recruiting move to replace the National Guard with cops. They're about 1,000 cops down. So if you could change, if Janine Pirro can, Judge Janine can change the laws, and then you can get 1,000 more cops in, and you could sign them up, get those incentives in. So when they come in and do these city operations, they can leave more cops in their wake.
The problem is a lot of these liberal cities, they don't like the cops. They don't support them. They demonize them. I spent maybe 3 to 4 years on this network, going to every single liberal city, trying to get their mayors, their representatives to do interviews with me. They wouldn't allow the cops to do it. I have to speak to the union. Anytime I showed up to a family, and Ainsley, you saw me many times on Sean's show, meeting with families, planning funerals with families, because they were so aghast about what happened to their precious babies, and no one in the city leadership would ever show up for those families.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Mr. Vice President, thank you for having us here today.
Good to see you.
So you had quite an eventful morning
We did.
over at Union Station, as we saw in that clip. Tell us about how you decided to go over there. You know, a lot of us D.C. residents and former D.C. residents know it well, but it's been the site of a lot of crime in recent years.
Of course.
And you decided to pay a visit. What happened?
Well, so a couple things. So first of all, I had heard from a couple of friends who used to avoid Union Station because there were vagrants and there were crazy people screaming at kids, that they avoided Union Station. But over the past 9 days, since the president did this emergency order, it looks a lot better. It feels a lot safer. So I was talking with Stephen Miller and with Pete Hegseth about this in the Oval Office yesterday. And I was like, you know, we should just go over there and say hello to people. And you've got a lot of National Guardsmen over there, some D.C. cops who have been heckled by some of the protesters. So I thought, what a good show of moral support to have the vice president and some of the senior team at the White House show up. We bought him some burgers, hang out with him a little bit. And actually, the most interesting thing, Laura, was after the cameras left, Pete and Steve and I stayed and, you know, had lunch with these troops and just learned a lot about what they're seeing, about how much the city has changed in just the past 9 days. So crazy statistic. You know, violent crime has dropped in D.C. 35% in 9 days. Robberies in D.C. have dropped 55% in 9 days. And it highlights the fact that this living with lawlessness and disorder, that's...
Sorry, I had to chase my driver because he just totally dropped the wrong order. Luckily, he realized it. As you can see, folks, crime is out of control. Not just in DC, but in sunny Los Angeles, California as well. While many of you might say that's not crime, that's just a simple mistake. Well, it feels like a crime, and my feelings are obviously more important than facts. Pesky little facts like the crime rate. Okay? Have you noticed that my feelings are far more consequential than the facts? Did you chase them down like the kids from Weapons? Yes. Yes, that's what I did. JD was using a slur for people with housing insecurity on live TV. Yeah, he said vagrants, right? Classic. Did you watch Weapons yet? Yeah, I did. There's a guy at my local park that runs in a straight line every day. And it's so funny because now, after I watched Weapons, I just can't stop thinking about like him being him being taken over and controlled. He's shirtless and he always runs in a straight line. And it was already strange to begin with, but now that I saw Weapons, it's like it's taken up a totally different. It became a totally different thing for me. I see it in an entirely different light. he's not. No, he doesn't jog like in the normal ways that, like, he runs weird. Like, his arms look weird when he's running, and he doesn't actually, like, he runs through the dog park. Like, he runs in a straight line in between dogs at the dog park, which is why it just, like, looks very out of place.
Fundamentally a question of political will. If you've got the political will to enforce the law, you can make even cities like
Can you shut the fuck up and not spoil a movie for once? What spoiler? The first scene in the fucking movie is kids running, dumbass. It's in the trailer. You got to take it over. That doesn't even make sense for the movie. I was trying to fucking find a way to say, like, that doesn't even, just watch the fucking movie. Shut up. God damn, you guys are so stupid.
DC safe again, and that's what we're demonstrating. And I hope that the American people take an important lesson from this, because obviously DC is a federal city, New York, LA, these places are not. I hope the American people just recognize that you don't have to live with lawlessness. You don't have to live with third world murder rates. If you just take control of these cities, you can make them safe places to live in.
So your pal Gavin Newsom calls this an abuse of power, that this is just a power grab, and this is all stunt for show, and that you all are going to roll through other cities. You've heard things about, it's martial law is going to be declared.
Yep,
and to that you say?
Well, first of all, how is it a power grab, or how is it a stunt when we've already declined murders by 35% in 9 days? How many people are living and breathing today because...
Wait. What kind of statistical analysis is being conducted here where murders went down by 35% in 9 days? What are you saying? So there were, in the last 10-day cycle, there were 10 murders, and now there's 7.5 murders? Like, do you understand what the problem is here? First of all, a 9-day period is not enough to fucking... Oh, sorry, 6.5. 6.5 murders. Oh, fucking God. Yeah, no murders in the last 3 seconds. Murder defeated. Yeah. Even in the conversation that's taking place right now, there have been 0 murders, which means we 100% reduced murders in the last hour.
As Donald Trump had the willpower to say, you know what, we're sick of D.C. being a home to lawlessness. We're going to bring some public order back to the nation's capital. So what I would say to Gavin Newsom or to anybody else in some of these big blue states or big blue cities is you can have law and order. You can have common decency. You can have public spaces that young families can go to again. I'll tell you a story, Laura. A couple of years ago, the last time I was in Union Station, I took my little kids there to get lunch, and they were being screamed at by homeless people, not compassionate to the homeless people to let them just fester when they clearly have mental health problems, not compassionate to young families to not be able to go into one of America's great public spaces without being screamed at by a person clearly suffering
Why are
from a
Democrats
mental
doing
illness.
this?
I don't know.
Why is this a
don't
political
know.
strategy for
Laura,
them?
I have thought about this so often and so many times. I don't know why Democrats seem to love public disorder and chaos almost as a political ideology. And I think that part of what's going on is Democrats have gotten so divorced from the communities that they allegedly serve that they don't realize the gross majority of residents in D.C., they want to walk through Union Station and just have a bite to eat or enjoy the space with their families. They don't realize that so many people.
Why is that in American politics? You only have two options. Either you just kill the homeless with the military, you kill them dead, or you have to act like they're not there. Why no third option? Like, what do you mean? Why is this the game? Why is this the only two available options at our disposal in American politics? You just either have to behave like a deputized social worker on the spot, or fucking avoid the person having a mental health episode in front of you. Just act like he's not there, or you just have to kill them. You have to kill them with the military immediately. Like, even in that situation, obviously one is better than the other. And no, I don't mean the Republican side. Okay. But like, there is an alternative out there. It's not like this is an issue that persists everywhere. Why can't we just fucking put them in housing, man? What the fuck? Also, to say this about Gavin Newsom is also hilarious because Gavin Newsom is even more directly vicious than JD Vance has been. I ain't never seen JD Vance, not to give him ideas here, but I haven't seen JD Vance at a fucking homeless encampment clearing it out with his own fucking bare hands. I've seen Gavin do that 10 times. I mean, this is kind of a straw man Hassan. Are they killing the homeless? No, I'm exaggerating. Okay, but he's saying they are festering like they're pests. And he wants to use the military to forcibly move them to God knows where. So obviously, you've even personally recognized that they're talking about this as though they are like a parasitic force that need to be forcibly excised. They didn't earn that housing. Yeah, I know. We need to look at their KPIs, dude. They didn't earn that housing. I don't know if you know this, but like, homes are for shelter. Okay. Crazy idea. I know. Not a speculative asset. If someone is in desperate need of shelter, we should give that to them. We're rich enough. God. Yeah, homes are not to be lived in. It's for the shareholders, dude.
People have been absolutely terrorized by Democrat crime policies. And so maybe they just don't make the connection between what Gavin Newsom says and the fact that places like D.C. or Los Angeles have some of the highest murder rates in the world.
And the D.C. police are being investigated for potentially manipulating their crime data. I've heard this from other police forces across the country. Great cops, beat cops in places like Chicago have said, some of the crimes are reclassified to make a burglary something that's more of a disturbance, and that kind of stuff happens. But is this a federal issue at this point, if this is a manipulation of data and if it's widespread?
Well, it's certainly something that's being investigated, and I hope that we'll uncover what's going on. But even aside from any manipulation of data, when you have 911 wait times that are so long, a lot of crime doesn't even get reported. And we heard this all the time. People would say, well, my home's being robbed. I'm not even going to call the police because it's going to be 45 minutes before they show up. And that's not an indictment of the beat cop, by the way. They're so overwhelmed by how.
Yeah, maybe because they're dog shit, dude. They suck at their jobs. Bro, I swear to God, there's no other fucking job on the planet other than like maybe a CEO that gets this kind of treatment for being shitty at their fucking jobs. It's so strange. Like I'm an advocate for making cops do their fucking job instead of roaming the streets, terrorizing like black people and shit. Like actually solve crime, actually stop crime. This shit pisses me off so much.
How much violent crime there is that they're unable to actually bring public safety to these communities. So what we're doing is just changing the balance a little bit. We're putting more good guys on the streets and we're taking more bad guys off the streets. And we think that's the sort of thing that's going to bring public safety back to D.C. Again, it's already working in a very big way.
Now, on to Ukraine. Your February meeting with Zelensky and the president, that was quite something to behold.
It was good
how
TV.
How did you all break the ice this time? Take us into the room, because we're all dying to know that.
Well, I think when President Zelensky walked into the Oval Office, I was chatting with him, with the president, with some of the senior Ukrainian delegation. I said, Mr. President, so long as you behave, I won't say anything. And he just chuckled a little bit, and it was a good little icebreaker. I mean, what the president's trying to do, meaning our president is trying to do, is bring a 3.5-year, very brutal conflict to a stop. It's killed way too many Ukrainians, way too many Russians. It's completely transformed the economy of Europe and of big parts of Asia. We just got to get back to peace. And I really do think you heard Vladimir Putin say this, that if Donald Trump had been president in 2022, this war would have never started. And now the president is really spending a lot of time, a lot of effort to stop Joe Biden's war, because I think it is Joe Biden's war. Without him being weak and provocative, I don't think that Russia would have invaded Ukraine.
Bro, that shit is so dumb. That statement is so dumb. Because Trump is president now. Why are Republicans so stupid? Yes, Vladimir Putin did say that. But the point is, Republicans are so dumb that they just look at that statement and don't make any inferences past the point of Vladimir Putin saying, oh, I would have never invaded if you kept being president. Okay, let's say that's true. Why is nobody asking, oh, but Trump is president now? Why are you still continuing to pummel Ukraine? Like, if that's the case, if you have so much respect for Donald Trump, then why don't you stop invading Ukraine? Is he? Oh, I just realized. Vladimir Putin is a mamala truther. That's why. He believes that the election was stolen from Kamala Harris. He also believes that the votes were never properly counted. That's why. He just doesn't know that Donald Trump is president right now. Because if he thought Donald Trump was president, he'd stop, right?
And now we have a situation where a president is trying to be strong and bold and trying to bring this thing to a close.
Now, take us into the room when the president said, I'm going to call Putin now. And you got all the Western leaders, they've all come to Washington. Now, what was their facial expression at that point? Did they anticipate that this was going to happen? Because it was, 8 hours ahead, Moscow time?
Yeah, it was like 1 in the morning Moscow time, and they had no anticipation. So we're actually in the east wing of the White House, and the president says, we've had a pretty good meeting. I'm going to go call Vladimir Putin and see what he says about it. And everybody's like, oh, you're going to call him next week? And he's like, no, what time is it in Moscow? Let's call him right now. And I think one of the things I've realized about President Trump's leadership is he cuts through the BS of some of these diplomatic protocols and just says, I'm.
They were like, it's funny that he's like, no, we need to hear his input right now.
Going to get things done. If I want to talk to somebody, I'm going to talk to somebody. You had a lot of the Europeans who were saying, no, there needs to be proper, vetting, and the teams have to prepare the phone call and blah, 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 blah. And the president was like, no. I want to talk to the guy. I'm going to talk to the guy. And I think that kind of no holds barred, no BS diplomacy is part of the reason why we've made the progress we have. And we've made a lot of progress, Laura. Look, who knows what's going to happen? The president tells me this all the time. You can never say with certainty what the outcome in this situation is going to be. But we now have the Russians talking to the Ukrainians. They're talking details about what would be necessary on each side to stop the fighting and stop the killing. We've made more progress in 3 months than the country had made in 3 years in stopping this conflict. And I think it's because sometimes you just need a president who will pick up the phone and call somebody.
I'm going to say when Vladimir Putin meets with Volodymyr Zelensky, can we assume that all the big details?
I just don't get it because, like, it seems like both sides are just lying to each other and one another in their own bases. Because, like, I don't know if Putin has backed away from his maximalist position of, like, leaving Ukraine defenseless or even, like, demanding more territory than it has conquered militarily. But also outside of that, like, Ukraine, on the other hand, is getting $100 billion of weapons from America that Europe is paying for, I guess. And I don't know why that would be, or some semblance of security assurances would be something that Putin is on board with when he's communicated that he does not want that at all. Having said that, however, if Trump was able to fucking crack this after getting cracked by Putin, I'd give him his flowers. I just doubt that it will happen. I think the likelihood is very, very low, judging by what they've said so far. But it would objectively be a good thing. I just don't know how it's going to work out.
Have been discussed and generally agreed upon, namely the security agreement and land swap?
It's a good question. I think that if you go through the bureaucratic process, then the answer is yes. But I think the president's preference and my preference would be, let's have them meet regardless. You don't have to figure out every issue. And sometimes leaders sitting down face to face can break the logjam that their teams don't necessarily have the ability to do. There really are two big questions lingering out there. And in some ways it's very simple, but in some ways it's very complicated. Number one is Ukraine wants to know that it's not going to get invaded again by Russia. It wants to know that it's got territorial integrity long into the future. The Russians want certain pieces of territory, most of which they've occupied, but some of which they haven't. So that is really where the meat of the negotiation is. The Ukrainians want security guarantees. The Russians want a certain amount of territory. Again, we finally got the details. We're working on them, but we haven't figured everything out. And I don't think that we should force, we shouldn't say that they can't sit down until you figured out every little detail. Sometimes them sitting down is what facilitates figuring out those details.
You have been so strong.
Massive L for America, by the way. Like, this is why I said he's a ginormous L. They just lost. That's it. They thought that they could like continue the back and forth while taking out large swaths of the Russian military and crippling the Russian economy, have Russia come back to the negotiating table begging for sanctions relief, and without losing like any significant Ukrainian territory. And America lost.
On the idea of Europe.
Isn't it L for Biden since it happened under his watch? There is no Biden versus Trump, man. What are you talking about? There's America. This is such a funny attitude that people have towards like American politics, especially as it pertains to foreign policy. Biden is dead. He's gone. Rest in peace, Biden. Okay? Not literally yet. But like, what the fuck do you mean? Isn't this Biden's war? Like, no, I'm talking about something far more consequential than Biden or Trump. I'm talking about America. Okay? With all of its endless might. America realized that it can't continue this in the ways that they are. There's simply not enough manpower to hold the weapons and not enough enthusiasm to keep the defense going.
Paying for Europe's defense.
Sure.
And I think a lot of Americans don't understand that the EU GDP last year was about $19.18 trillion, if I'm right, give or take. And the UK's is about $2.9 trillion.
Sure.
Ours is $29.8 trillion, right?
You know, you know the numbers better than I do. You should be Treasury Secretary.
Yeah. Sorry, Scott, I got your job. No, but so this is a lot of money. Europe has the money to defend itself. So the security agreement, my question to you is, why should America carry the lion's share of the burden from now until Lord knows when for Europe when Europe has the money to defend itself?
Well, I don't think we should carry the burden here. I think that we should be helpful if it's necessary to stop the war and to stop the killing. But I think that we should expect, and the president certainly expects, Europe to play the leading role here. And what he said very clearly is, look, the United States is open to having the conversation, but we're not going to make commitments until we figure out what's going to be necessary to stop the war in the first place. And I think that it's, the president is very good. He never takes anything off the table. He never puts anything fully on the table because he doesn't want to give away his leverage. And this is the private conversation that we're all going to have about what's necessary to stop the war. But no matter what happens, no matter what form this takes, the Europeans are going to have to take the lion's share of the burden. It's their continent, it's their security, and the president's been very clear they're going to have to step up here.
What's it like meeting Putin? What was he like, just one-on-one?
So I've actually never met Putin. The president did that meeting. I've talked to him on the phone a number of times. It's interesting. He's more soft-spoken than you would necessarily expect. The American media has a particular image of him. He's soft-spoken in a certain way. He's very deliberate. He's very careful. And I think fundamentally he's a person who looks out for the interests as he sees it of Russia. And I think one of the reasons he respects the President of the United States is because he knows the President looks out for the interests of the American people. And while they often disagree about issues, and obviously the president has been very critical of Vladimir Putin, the president's also willing to work with anybody if he thinks it's going to accomplish an important goal for America. And we all agree an important goal is to stop the killing.
Let's move to the economy, because that is still the number one issue in the United States for most voters.
Sure.
The Democrats seem to be banking on an economic downturn, just like they seem to be banking on chaos in the streets against the National Guard.
Sure.
How do you see the economy in the next 6 months as we're seeing some continuing uncertainty regarding interest rates and Jerome Powell?
Well, unfortunately, you have the Democrats. I think they really are betting against the United States. We're betting on the United States and the American people. There are a lot of good things happening in the economy. You have a lot of new investment coming in part because of the tariffs. People are trying to avoid the.
When Republicans are actively trying to destroy the country, when Democrats are in charge, they're never betting against the United States. You only hear this rhetoric. You only hear this rhetoric when Republicans are in charge, where they're like, oh, you hate the president? You must hate America. Oh, you hate the president? You want him to do bad, huh? You want Americans to suffer. It's like, no, dude, you're making Americans suffer. You're making Americans suffer. And it's such a funny, it's such funny cope for them to be like, yeah, it's the Democrat Jerome Powell's doing. That's the reason why the economy is not picking up steam. Stock market's fine. stock market notwithstanding, obviously not exactly a great measure of the overall economy, overall health of the American population. Always and forever, bro. It's like dumbasses being like, oh, Hasan, you hate America. Why? Because you're criticizing things that America's doing and demanding that it do better by its own citizens and everyone living on U.S. soil. So you fucking hate America. No, man, I think the Republicans hate America. I think any politician that, for example, actively demands more funds be transferred to Israel, more funds be transferred to the American military, to send more American men and women overseas to go fucking die so that American corporations could turn profit year over year, hate America and Americans a lot more than me, motherfucker. I don't want that to happen. Yeah, I hate America so much. I want everyone to have socialized medicine. It really, truly blows my mind, dude. That, like, dudes like myself and people like yourselves that say stuff like, hey, why don't we just, like, spend some money on ourselves? There's clearly a lot of it going around. It's just, like, staying in the hands of super wealthy people. Maybe we should spread it around a little bit. Maybe we should fund some social programs a little bit. And they're like, oh, you're a terrorist. You're a socialist terrorist. Fuck you. Oh, you don't want to keep funding Israel's genocide? Wow, you're anti-Semitic terrorists, you piece of shit. Great, man. Thank you. That's right. I'm the one who fucking hates America and Americans. Yeah, you got it. Because I said there's better use of all of the wealth that we are generating than to dump it directly back into endless military conquest. Meanwhile, don't worry. I know I'm not an economic streamer, but do not fucking worry. We haven't even gotten to my number one I told you so moment. Throughout my career as a professional media broadcaster, there have been numerous instances where people have come to me and said, Hasan, I'm trying to get into insert specific fraudulent industry. One of the major ones was NFTs. Not only were early adopters constantly trying to give me money so I could huck out and farm NFTs to my audience, which I, of course, chose not to do because clearly that shit was busted and it was fraudulent from the get-go, and scam coins alike. There was a lot of people in that process that kept yelling at me and said, oh, Hasan, you just don't want me to make money. You're socialist piece of shit. Seems like you're just scared that we're going to get rich and hate you. No, it was because I did not want to use the power and influence that I have over a large audience for evil to fucking line up my goddamn wallet. That's the reason why I didn't do it. Because I saw it for what it is. A fucking scam. Well, here's another bubble. Here's another scam that I called out that many people have yelled at me for. The overemphasis placed upon LLMs, AI in general. It's about to pop. As a scam engineer, I believe not is future-proof. The same people that fucking slapped NFTs in Web 3.0 onto every goddamn grift that they were trying to line up, weirdly enough, moved on to AI. So strange that the exact same people, like using the same language, they just copied, they cut out Web 3.0 and slapped on AI instead, is so odd. And people just fell for it, just like they had fallen for the fucking cryptocurrency grift.